my family held a vote about whether I should stay in the family. I always knew my family was opinionated, but I never realized they treated blood like something optional. It started at my grandmother's birthday dinner. Everyone tense, whispering, staring at me like I was the elephant in the room. I thought they were just being weird until I noticed colored index cards at every plate. Red, yellow, green, like some kind of twisted grading system. When dessert came out, everyone placed their cards in the center of the table. I didn't understand what was happening until my uncle slid the pile toward my grandmother and she started counting. One red, another red, a green, two yellows. My stomach sank as I realized the colors matched something I saw months ago in an old folder my mom kept hidden. A family evaluation system they apparently used when someone caused problems. It was meant for relatives who stole money, cheated spouses, or caused drama. But there was a section labeled offspring, and the description matched things only I had done. Switching colleges, quitting my job, refusing to move states with them. Things I never thought mattered. And when my grandmother finished counting and quietly set down the last card, everyone stared at me with this strange mixture of guilt and relief. It hit me all at once. They weren't judging my decisions. They were voting on whether I deserved to stay part of the family. Before I could react, the room shifted. Chairs moved, people stood, some wouldn't meet my eyes. My father grabbed a sealed envelope from a drawer and placed it next to my untouched cake. It had my name written across the front in handwriting that wasn't his. The envelope felt heavy in my hand, and everyone watched like they already knew what was inside. But when I opened it and saw the first line, my whole body went cold. It wasn't a letter, it was a removal notice, signed by every relative in the room. And right as I reached the bottom, I noticed one more signature, one I didn't recognize, with a date for something scheduled tomorrow morning. A date labeled transfer. I barely slept that night. The word transfer burned in my head like it was some kind of sentence. I kept replaying the moment my grandmother finished counting the cards. The way everyone looked relieved, like they had finally done something they'd been planning for years. I wanted to believe it was symbolic, or some dramatic family stunt, but the envelope said otherwise. The signatures were real, the date was real, and the instructions at the bottom were brutally clear. I thought about running. I even packed a bag. But something told me leaving without understanding what they were planning would haunt me forever. So instead, I followed the address written on the bottom of the notice. A place I'd never heard of, just outside town, in an old industrial district no one ever goes near. When I arrived, the building didn't look like anything important. Just a long warehouse with tinted windows and no markings. But my entire family was already there. Their cars lined up neatly outside like they were attending some kind of ceremony. My grandmother stood near the entrance, holding another stack of color cards, as if another vote was about to happen. But no one made eye contact with me. They didn't need to. They'd already decided. Inside the warehouse, the lights were low, and the entire floor was covered in rows of chairs facing a raised platform. It looked like a courtroom mixed with a lecture hall. At the front, a large binder sat open on a podium, its pages filled with names, some crossed out, some highlighted, and a few marked with symbols I couldn't understand. I recognized my cousins' names, my siblings' names, and even relatives who hadn't been around in years. And then I saw my own name on the newest page, half filled, like it was waiting for something to be completed. My mother approached the podium and placed another envelope beside my name slot. The same thick paper, the same seal, the same handwriting I didn't recognize. A man I'd never seen stood next to her, holding a clipboard, checking off something as each relative entered the room. My stomach twisted when I noticed he was wearing a badge. Not police, not medical, but something that looked more like it belonged to a private organization. When I stepped closer, I realized my section of the binder was labeled reassignment. Below it, status pending. The man with the clipboard finally acknowledged me, not with warmth or concern, but with the calm efficiency of someone preparing inventory. My family took their seats in the front row. My grandmother nodded toward the man, signaling him to begin. He opened a small lockbox, revealing a stack of blank forms identical to the one I'd received, each with a designated space for signatures. Except these weren't removal notices. They were agreements. Agreements to transfer guardianship. agreements to replace a family member, agreements to assign a new one. It hit me like a punch. I wasn't being disowned. I was being replaced. My family had already selected someone else, someone they believed would fit better, obey more, follow the rules they worshipped. The man called it a lineage continuity program, something my parents had apparently enrolled in long before I was born, something that allowed families to switch out members the way companies replace employees. And according to the binder, my replacement had already been chosen. A girl exactly my age, with my same first name. A girl whose picture was clipped to the final page, smiling, posed, and dressed in clothes I swear I'd seen in my mother's closet. As the man stamped the final form, he gestured toward the entrance. My entire body froze as a figure stepped in behind me. I didn't have to turn around to know who it was. The air in the room shifted, my family stood up, and I heard the quiet scrape of a chair moving as they prepared to welcome her. The girl with my name walked toward the front, and every single relative reached for a green card. And that's when I realized they weren't voting to remove me, they were voting to replace me, and the decision was already made.